Welcome back to my train room. I've taken inventory of the trees I have available for adding to this section of the layout, and I have plenty of conifers and a good selection of green deciduous trees. What I'm lacking is deciduous in 4 colours, so I'm going to make another batch of those, and I thought I'd do a second tutorial. Let you see how I do it. First thing I need is some armatures. I harvest those from my backyard. This is what they look like before I do any work to them. I don't think I have quite enough here, so I'll just head outside and harvest some more. I'll see you in a bit. This is my backyard. As you can see, I have a lot of wild bushes. I hate yard work. Anyway, these are the bushes that yield the armatures for the deciduous trees. So let's wade in and find some ready to harvest. Okay, I'm back inside. I have no idea what this plant is called, and I don't really care. But this one plant will yield about 5 or 6 trees. I'll get a big one out of the bottom and several smaller ones. I only save the areas where I have a fair number of branches coming together in quick succession. So I'm going to cut around here. There's one. If in doubt, I leave the branches long at this stage because I can always trim them later. But what I can't do is add bits back on. Welcome back. While you were gone, I finished prepping the tree armatures. I removed any remaining leaves and buds, and also cut them to more pleasing shapes by trimming any branches that I felt stuck out too far. You may notice that I've also carved a point on all the thick branches on these larger armatures. That makes assembly much easier later on. Anyway, at the moment these just represent the trunks and major limbs. The minor branches will be represented with the same furnace filter material that I used on the conifer tutorial. Here's some that I've already pulled apart and painted, but I don't have anywhere near enough of it just yet, so let me go off and shred some more filter, and I'll see you again later. Here I am shredding the furnace filter. The goal this time is slightly different from when I was doing the conifers. There, if you recall, I was trying to get thin layers of filter. What I'm trying to do now is just tease it out and add as much bulk as I can. Something like that. I don't care if it ends up in small pieces, because for the most part I'll be adding it to the trees in small pieces anyway. Welcome back. I've got all my furnace filter shredded and painted. I've already assembled several trees and also identified one that I want to leave without any foliage at all. I'm going to keep that exactly as it is to represent a dead tree in the forest. So let's put this aside before I forget. Before adding the filter, I like to examine the armature, the shape of it. Here's one I've selected to do for you. This one has a lot of branches all over the place, suggesting that it's suitable for a standalone location. If I were to trim off the side branches so that everything is concentrated at the top, then it would be a good tree for a forest location where it has to compete with others. Also, this one has quite a pronounced bend halfway up the trunk. That suggests that it should possibly be on an area of land that is a little unstable. Maybe there was some movement probably 50, 60 years ago when this tree was only half the size it is now, resulted in it being at an angle, and since then it's been correcting and growing upwards. There's other reasons why it might have a bend in it, but that's just one. So let's get on with this tree. I use the same white glue as I use for the conifers, but here instead of attaching it, instead of putting a blob of glue in the middle of the furnace filter, what I do is I add it to the ends of all the branches, where pushing the furnace filter over the end will force the glue down, will spread the glue downwards to where it's needed. Now with a big tree like this, I'm not going to do them all in one go, because the lower limbs, the glue would dry before I get to them. So I'm just going to do the top few. And maybe this one over here, because it's close to one I've already done. Okay, that's enough for now. I'm using a block of wood that has holes of several diameters drilled in it. That way, working on one tree at a time, I can just turn it round any direction to get all round access to my tree, depending on which side I want to work on. Now I need quite a big lump of furnace filter at the top, but I'm not going to attach it all in one piece. I'm going to attach several smaller chunks, that way I can control the shape better. With deciduous trees, I'm not particularly concerned about scraggly bits of furnace filter sticking out in odd directions, because real deciduous trees tend to grow branches wherever they can find light, and they can be pretty weird shapes. I may do a little bit of trimming later, but certainly nowhere near as much as I did for the conifers. Okay, I need to make sure the tips of all the branches are hidden, otherwise it won't look particularly realistic. Okay, there's my top canopy. This armature suggests that there will be several other areas of foliage that will not necessarily connect with the main canopy at the top. Let's put them on and see what they look like. As I said earlier, this tree armature could either be used in a standalone location, or I could later trim off some of these branches to use it in a forest setting. Or I could trim the branches off on one side only to put it on the edge of a forest. I don't normally spend quite as long on one tree as I'm spending on this one, but this is a fairly decent sized specimen and also has a good chance of being used in a standalone location, so it's worth spending the time on it. Trees that I know are going to be used in the middle of a forest, I tend to rush through them a little bit quicker, because there it's the overall forest composition that is more important than the individual trees. And there we are. I think once that has the ground foam on it, it'll be a great looking tree. Let's see if it will stand up straight. Now got all the armatures covered in furnace filter. There's 38 trees left in this batch now. There were 40, but one of them I elected to leave as a dead tree, and another one I decided I really wasn't very happy with the shape of it, so I just threw that one away. For adding the ground foam, I use a slightly different technique to what I showed you with the conifers. If you recall, I just rolled the conifers in it, but with the odd shapes of these trees, I need to use a slightly different method. Sprinkling I find works better than rolling. So let's use the same hairspray, give it a blast, and let's sprinkle some ground foam on it. Okay, I'm only sprinkling from the top because leaves do not grow on the undersides of branches. Okay, I'm going to coat it until I see very little furnace filter left. Knock off some excess, and let's see how that looks. Let's see that a bit more. Alright, what I'm going to do is do several different sized trees in each colour, so I have a selection. That way when I come to populate the forest, I should have a tree that fits every location that I could possibly want. I'm also going to do some mixtures. And I might even do a few trees that are one colour on one side and a different colour on the other. Okay, let me go away and do a few more of those, and I'll be right back. Welcome back again. Here we have 38 trees in 4 colours, all ready for planting.